What's going on, guys? We are about a week removed from the release date of the album that we're going to talk about today, which means that it came out last week. It could be further even back if you're viewing this from the future. However, it is an album that certainly was a big release here in 2014, or is going to prove to be, and it's certainly one that we need to talk about. It's just a shame that it kind of had to wait this long. There was a couple things I needed to take care of last week, and then, of course, the preparations and the start of Music Madness is certainly two things that definitely kind of kept me from getting at this right away. Beck's Morning Phase. For those of you who haven't voted in Music Madness, you should definitely go do that. There's going to be some links for you, blah, 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 blah. But Beck's Morning Phase, we need to talk about it. Now, I don't know about you, but my very first Beck experience was not hearing the song Loser on the radio. In fact, it was another very typical keynote moment for Beck fans that I kind of got into him, and that's during the Odelay album with songs such as Where It's At and Jackass and Devil's Haircut and stuff like that. That was a huge album. It was a really, really important album, not only for Beck's career, but also really in the whole entire alternative music genre in the middle part of the 1990s, because it really showcased that these very strange artists that kind of incorporate a lot of different aspects of alternative into their sound, that kind of aren't afraid of taking some risks and taking some bold leaps musically, and kind of making some things that just may sound very, very strange and sinister, but actually also make it sound extremely beautiful, have 100% a huge place in the music market. Now, this is something you might think, whenever you trace back your roots to the 60s and 70s, is kind of a commonplace idea, something that's very easy to incorporate and easy to see. However, in the 1990s, there was a lot of different music out there that was kind of following a bit of a formula, and then there was this whole entire expression, this whole entire movement of bands such as Radiohead, of bands such as Beck, or groups such as Beck, and that really were showcasing this different side of music. And Radiohead really started to explore it a lot more during the latter part of the 1990s. But Morning Phase is an album that is working kind of like a sequel to, I believe, Sea Change, an album of his from the first part of the 2000s, if I remember my Beck history correctly. See, the problem that I have, actually, right off of the bat, is right after Odelay, I kind of fell off the Beck radar. I knew what he was doing. I knew that there were albums coming out. There were singles that I would hear every so often, here and there. However, it was just something where I kind of fell off the Beck wagon. I went Beck AWOL, which kind of is a, Beck problem. However, at the same time, whenever I saw this album coming out, the very first thing that I thought to myself was, I gotta listen to it and I gotta review it. It's something that definitely needs to be done. This is a guy who really defined, the middle part of the 1990s for me whenever I heard that classic album, Odelay. So, whenever we get to Morning Phase, what does it mean that it's kind of a sequel to Sea Change? What it really means is that this is a very moody album. It's at times, in fact, most of the time, it's a very soft album. It's one that has a lot of resonance in emotion. There's a lot of emotion on this disc, and it's really reflected upon the music. Odelay really incorporated a lot of kind of some harsh tones to go alongside of the softer moments, the moments that showed a little bit of tact, but with an album such as this is one where the tact is almost everlasting throughout all of the 47 minutes. It's one that really shows where Beck is able to get a little bit more creative and kind of really be a little bit traditional, but at the same time, that tradition is something that so many individuals who maybe never explored this side of music will kind of be blown away by. If you're a metal fan and you're watching this video, think about the first time you listened to a band such as Odelay, or think about the first time that you listened to Sunbather by Def Heaven, or think about the first time that you've ever listened to your favorite group that has a little bit more of a softer, more of like a post-metal or post-rock feel to it, where you can kind of get some feels from the songs, as they're saying. That's kind of what this album's all about, only it has no post by it. This is instead something that I would just latch on to the alternative and almost even the indie garb. This is kind of cool to see Beck kind of go into some territory that some people may even classify as indie, but considering who he is, it's kind of hard to put him in that label, although some I'm sure do. This is a great disc whenever it comes to variety. I have a song such as Wave on this disc that reminds me a lot of another song by another group that I mentioned earlier in the video, Radiohead. It reminds me of a weird, tripped-out Pyramid song, if you remember that track, ladies and gentlemen. If not, definitely look it up. It's a good one. And I really kind of dig that because it gives me that like little reflection point in which I'm able to kind of latch onto the song, and it's just a great song by itself. Really, right from whenever you get to Morning and Hard as a Drum start off of this disc, way before you even get to Wave, the wave of emotion's already starting to show itself. His lyricism is already starting to show itself as being his principal strength, something that always kind of was well known about Beck. However, I think it's something that is subtly appreciated, if it's appreciated at all. As you continue further on, you get to hear a little bit more of the twang side that he has with songs such as Country Down, which I kind of like the incorporation there of a more homely, more country type element to it, even though it's not really what you would call country music. This is what would happen if country music went kind of alternative, and it didn't mean that they were using electric guitars, they weren't using banjos or steel guitars, you know. It's something where country music would not be very accepting of a true country alternative artist simply because it would be too strange. It would be walking away from the traditionalist aspect of the genre way too much. And maybe it's something we need to address in a full video, but I really like the fact that this is something that's being addressed. You can kind of showcase that more Americana side, and it really is not something that you shake even a fist at if you are a Beck fan, or even if you're not. It's just something that sounds really natural. Like he's channeling a bit of Bob Dylan and a whole hell of a lot of Neil Young. And whenever that occurs, it really, once again, gives you that kind of reference point and really makes the song all the more better. Not to mention the construction. The construction of these tracks is masterfully done. It's something that does not require a tremendous, tremendous, tremendous amount of, you know, out there thinking. This is something where it's kind of a process that's been simplified a little bit. It's something that's based around, you know, very simple chord progressions and then kind of taking things a little bit of a different way. There are a couple moments on this album where I really felt as though I knew where the progression was going to hit and where and how. However, it's something that's changed up a little bit, something where the tone is just a little bit different. They go a little bit of a different route with this, and you gotta have respect for people who are willing to take a look at the norm in the face and say, you know what, I think I'd rather go this way. Overall, this album has a great solid feel to it. It's one that is impossible to put down whenever you're listening through it. And at 47 minutes, this is certainly not one that overbears itself upon a listener. I don't think there's a track here that eclipses the 5-minute mark, and if there is, it's got to be just barely. And this is kind of also a great album to sort of relax to. It's something that can definitely get you very introspective. It can also get you kind of emotional during moments because this does have a certain power over it. This is music with power, and that is powerful music. I know that seems a little bit redundant, but sit down and think about that statement and understand what it truthfully means. I would have to give this album a solid 85 out of 100. Beck really has impressed me, and what it really has caused me to do, and I noticed this after playback number 2 and 3 and 4, is that it makes me want to go to the work that I missed. It makes me want to go to the work that I don't want to even say ignored because I knew of its existence, but I just didn't listen to, I didn't get to. It makes me want to explore all of that. It basically wants me to make up for lost time. And it's like walking up to the man and saying, listen, I know it's been a while since we've hung, but I really want to catch up with you. And the only way for me to do that is to listen to all the albums between, you know, Odelay all the way up to Morning Phase. Might take me a while, but I think it'd be a lot of fun. What did you guys think of Morning Phase? Did you guys really enjoy this album, or was this one that you felt was a dud? What is your favorite Beck song? What is your favorite Beck album? And what are some artists that are kind of like Beck that you also enjoy? Let me know in the comments. I think that'd be kind of interesting, not to mention maybe we'll do, for the first time in a couple of years, a full-fledged alternative week here in 2014, or at least like an alternative day where maybe we post a couple different alternative videos, album reviews. We will see. I want to know, though, those couple of questions. And what did you think about this album? Let me know.